good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. Welcome to the Tflip show, and this program starts now. Miss Aubrie Tolliver, here we are. Welcome.
Aubrie Tolliver.
Tolliver, sorry.
Tolliver.
It probably happens all the time, doesn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. No one really says my last name.
No,
and they just call me Aub, too.
So, right,
yeah,
of course.
Aub
I don't
like
find myself, that's actually weird now to think about. I don't find myself saying your last name too often.
No.
So that was kind of, that's weird. Figured it out quick.
Not at all, not at all.
Awesome. Well, hey, first of all, thank you for joining me. I'm so glad we finally make it happen
I
here.
know. I had to beg you, but
Oh, you did,
fine.
yes. I know, because kind of a big deal here. Obviously, Tflip show, real big deal. So I want you to start by just introducing yourself. Let people know who you are, what's going on, and how'd you end up here?
I know, right? I'm Aubrie, and I grew up just down the street, from here. I grew up in Sunnyvale, and I went to high school at Wilcox High, and Midi did too. And went to college and came back, and now I'm the co-host of one of the longest running high school sports shows in the nation. And also the in-game host for the 49ers.
Right, which that's a new thing.
That is a new thing. Yeah, I'm in my second season.
That's so cool that you ended up with that. So let's talk about, because obviously I'll fill people in how we met. I ended up as intern with Cal High. What feels like so many moons ago, really. It's like it feels so recent yet so far away at the same time. But and it was just a cool experience for me becoming an intern with Cal High, and then I get paired up with co-host a show that, okay, Tyler, hey, you're going to be a freelance now, and now you're going to be doing these Game of the Weeks. Yep. With Aubrie, you're going to be driving all over the Bay Area and do these things. And
yeah. So just background, we have a Game of the Week where we would have to shoot, a team interview, and that's one of the only times we needed an extra camera guy at the games, since it wasn't like a one-man job. And so we would literally just spend hours in a car together listening to Cody Johnson, just headed to whatever game of the week we had. And yeah, we spent a lot of time together.
We got to learn each other very quickly, right? We didn't have much choice, because primetime traffic here in the Bay, you're in the car forever.
3 hours to get to Pittsburgh. Yep.
And let's not, I'm not going to have no yellow Jeep slander, but that was definitely not much of a commuter now, was it?
It was not. My yellow Jeep. My beautiful two-door Wrangler. She's no longer with us. But yeah, that wasn't a great commuter car either.
No.
But you know what? The speakers worked just fine.
It did great. So. You introduced me to Cody Johnson. The people that know me, obviously, I'm obsessed.
It was me.
Too much.
It was me.
It was all you.
I was like, have you heard the song "Dancer Home" by this guy named Cody Johnson? I can't stop listening to him now.
Is that "Dancer Home" and "Bottle It Up"? Those are the two first songs that you showed me right out of the gate.
Holes. Half a song. Okay, yeah. I was listening to him because we're planning on maybe getting to Cody Johnson in Sacramento in January, and I was like, let me just go through my old, Cody Johnson favorites. It's just like every single one is just so good.
Many.
Yeah,
cute,
not many people know that I'm that into country music.
Is it really that hidden? Your friends, they don't know as much. Maybe family, I'm sure they do, but friends even.
Friends a little bit, yeah. I'm like now I'm all on the Morgan Wallen hype. Oh my gosh,
hard not to.
Yeah, and we're going to Luke Combs together.
Yes, super exciting.
4 seats to Luke
I'm
Combs.
stoked.
So.
I'm stoked about that one. We're going to the show with Cody Jinks.
Yes, that's what you wanted to go to.
Exactly, and you don't know who that is, right?
Loud Thunder, Heavy
There
Rain.
you
One,
go.
yeah.
That guy.
It's literally, I think that's the only song.
Okay, well, you'll have to expand your knowledge.
Okay, I will.
He's great. I've seen him at Stagecoach, and he's great live.
Yeah.
He's very ZZ Top-esque. His big old long beard.
Oh, really?
Totally got ZZ Top vibes.
For some reason, I'm not picturing a guy with a long beard when I think of Cody Jinks. So I have to.
Hopefully you're not thinking, well, not hopefully, but you think it's someone else.
Probably.
Because I think he's had like the long beard forever. Seriously, it's like got to be down down to the top of
That's
his
attractive.
belly. Yeah, right. I know. Different strokes for different folks.
Yep,
but anyway,
so
let's talk a little bit about your career getting to the point of where you are with Cal High. Because, that is where you've solidified a fantastic career for yourself and so much to go forth. I look up to you as a mentor a lot. So I'd love to hear, what got you to that point, what grew your interest to where you are now.
Yeah, it's as you learn in this business, it's all about being ready for the opportunities that are presented, right? So I went to college at Sonoma State, where I majored in softball. So I was a comms major because I knew I wanted to be Amy Gutierrez from the Giants. And so I was just a comms major, but I got recruited to play softball at Sonoma. And they do have a great communications program, but it's not, top notch whatsoever. And I couldn't attend a lot of the classes I wanted to because they conflicted with my softball practices.
Sure. Yeah,
so
right.
I wasn't even able to be in like the TV classes because if those were at Wednesdays at 2, I had softball Wednesdays at 2, so I just wouldn't sign up for the classes.
Right.
And so after graduating, or around the time of graduation, I was like, I should probably get my master's in broadcast journalism if I really want to pursue it. So I studied for, whatever test that's called. I have no idea. The test to get into grad school. I ended up applying to the 2 best grad schools in the country. I was like, if I don't get into these 2, it's not meant to be. I got into both. I got into ASU, which was the Cronkite program, and I got into Syracuse, which is the Newhouse School. And I chose what I thought was the best one, and it's still the best choice to this day. I chose Newhouse. I went to Syracuse University, home of Bob Costas, Mike Tirico, and so many others. Oh my goodness.
Legendary names.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's a quick 17 month program. And so basically they threw us in and I got everything I needed to get from simply that program. And I had this job lined up with Cal High basically before I even graduated.
Wow.
I, wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go. I knew that I did not want to start at market 170 in the sports department in some random, place people don't really want to be, And so I basically was like, hey, I remember that high school sports show growing up. They came to some of my softball games. Let me just go ahead and shoot that executive producer an email and just have them look over my reel. I wasn't even asking for a job. I said, hey, can you look at my reel, see, where I can improve and all that. And that's kind of what they tell you to do at Syracuse.
Right.
Like, don't ask for a job, just ask for feedback. Mm-hmm. And Robert, that was Robert Braunstein, my boss, and the owner and operator of Cal High for since 2002. And he said, this is great. You're ready to go, but we don't have any jobs. And I was like, oh, that's so nice that you thought that I was asking for a job, which I really was. And and I was like, okay, no problem. I'm planning on coming back home to intern,
right.
Or to go back home and just hang out. Can I intern? And he said, absolutely. 2 days later, he said, one of my full-time reporters just quit. We do have a job opening. Can you send me everything you have? I got the job, just crazy. And then 8 weeks, and I wasn't supposed to be the host. 8 weeks later, Marissa Levis, a longtime co-host of Roberts, was stepping down, and basically I was the co-host of Cal High, not even 3 months after I graduated from college.
That's insane.
And so it goes all the way back to just being ready for those opportunities.
Absolutely.
A door is going to open, and it's not going to be open for long. And so you don't want that door to open and you to not be ready for it. So
right.
Even though, there are no anchor jobs on the market right now, even though there aren't any reporter jobs on the market right now, you be ready for
right.
when those jobs come up.
And you growing up in sports and myself too, it translates a lot to sports, right? Because you got to be ready. I think about, for me, is like being a backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
You got to wait for your opportunity. You can't sit there and say, oh, how about now? And it's not there. It's like, once it's there, you got to be ready to go and show. Otherwise, hey, they're going to go to the next guy.
AKA Brock Purdy.
Exactly, BP. Oh, I was going to tell you, I was walking out of the stadium today, and I ran into his parents.
Oh, really?
I was at the crosswalk waiting to cross with them.
Do you just recognize their face?
I recognized him right away. I recognized the dad because the dad looked so much like him, and I couldn't help it. I was sitting next to him. They're just talking. It was his parents and then his fiance, and I was just so like, are you guys the Purdy's? I was like, I'm sorry to interrupt. They're like, oh yeah, they're so nice. It's very brief.
I know.
Couldn't help
That's it seemed, I once went to a restaurant right after a game day. It must have been his third game, maybe even his second. I went to a restaurant and he was sitting there, less than 3 hours after the end of the game, sitting there having a dinner with his parents. He seems like wholesome.
That's
wholesome.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yep,
They're so wholesome, just genuine, so nice.
Yeah,
it's hard not to love them, right?
Yeah.
Just all
it's hard not to love a lot of those Niner players.
I know.
Truly.
They got a great crew this year, so I know. Exactly. So okay, I got a little sidetracked. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
So it translates, point being, a lot to sports, right? Mm-hmm. And so being ready for that. I want you mentioned about how you got thrusted in that co-host position, host of the show so quickly. What were some of the thoughts and feelings going through your head?
I was freaked out.
I would imagine.
So freaked out. I remember reading each script for each show like 30 times. Like I would wake up, if studio wasn't until noon, I'd wake up at 8:00 and my first 2 hours would just be reading over this script, you know? And so it was tough. And, you know, being new to just being on TV as a woman, it's like, what am I going to wear? One, what's my makeup going to look like? You know, cause we don't have professional makeup artists doing our makeup. You know, it's all coming. That's a big misconception is like, oh, any anchor on TV is going to have their makeup done. No, nope. No. You're doing your own. And so that's really what was tough. And now it's just completely second nature. And a lot of people don't know about this about me or about Robert, the host, is that we do everything else as well. You know, I'll show up to a game by myself with my camera and, you know, they'll recognize me from being the anchor and they'll be like, where's your camera guy? Where's your camera guy? And I'm like, I am the camera guy.
Except don't forget about those team interview, the game of the weekdays. I mean,
those were glorified. Prime.
Yeah,
those were so prime. I remember because you were training to shoot football for most of the season.
I started out, training, but I got the hang of it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I loved it. I was like, I'm not even going to shoot this game.
I know. The amount of times there's even a handful of pictures that team photographers got of us where you'd have your coffee and
I literally was just
hanging out and I'd be shooting. It was fun though. I like it.
Just drinking coffee.
Because now, like reflecting back on it, it's nice. I had someone to talk to, hang out with me the whole game. And just like today, it's like I'm on my own where I have my AirPods in playing music. So
exactly. Oh gosh, those were the days. Those were the days for sure.
So now, now you are the camera guy. Yes. Those glorified days are over.
Yep. And just like any sports reporter on any network, any news station, you know, we're doing it all. You know, we're cutting it. We're writing the highlights. We are calling the highlights, and it's a lot easier now than it used to be.
Yeah,
for sure.
I can. I mean, because it's still all brand new to me. Every day I feel like I'm learning something new, which is great. I love the process.
Yeah.
But you mentioned about how people are blown away with what goes into, especially our show, specifically the Cal High Sports. Just it's exciting for me. My youngest sister's she's a senior in high school and looking into the media world, and she's asked me a lot of questions about it and how it goes. And I was just telling her, basically, she asked, what do you do in Vision? And I was telling her all of our process of, okay, you know, I get the game, I do this, I shoot it, I go and talk to coaches, just the whole process, you know. And she was blown away, like, so that's like a lot. You don't just, I thought you just show up, point, shoot, and go at it. No, there's a lot more.
Well, there is a little bit more when it comes to high school, you know, because you know, we have to run down rosters and all that. Everything's not just like packaged up because a lot of media, you know, when you show up to a game day, like at the 49ers, you have a media packet, you know, making sure that all the numbers and the names are correct. And they'll even give you like little tidbits too about matchups and stuff. But that's all our research.
It's exactly. It's nice at that level they do the homework for you more or less, right? You got a lot to do. Otherwise, you got to match up rosters, like I said, make sure they're accurate numbers, all that stuff. Yeah. So talk about how you got you talked about Cal High Sports, you know, how you got there. Talk about how you ended up with the 49ers, because that's so cool. That's brand new. And I love that.
So like everything that's been in my career, just the opportunity, right? So I was hired within days of the 49ers acquiring controlling interest in Cal High. So when I was in high school, Cal High was its own TV show owned by Robert Bronstein and Annabelle Productions. But when I was hired, the Niners, who do so many initiatives with youth sports and the whole community, really, they wanted in. They wanted into Cal High, and they bought controlling interest, and that happened, if not days before I was hired, days after I was hired. It just was like 1 and 1, And the previous 49ers team reporter, Kiana Martin, she is incredible. I love her so much. She's now with MLB Network and does a lot with college football as well. The role that I have now used to be along with the 49ers team reporter, so Kiana would do both. And when Kiana went to MLB Network and the 49ers hired Lindsay Polaris, who's the new reporter, and she's incredible too. I love her so much.
Loving all the shout outs.
I know. Women in sports.
Yep.
They split it up. And then my boss now with the Niners, Laura Johnson, who is literally one of the best in her crafts. It's just, it's incredible the show her and the staff are able to produce every game day. She was like, who better than Aubrie? And I am as local as it gets. So when I was in high school in 2012, don't do the math on how old that makes me. When I was in high school, the Levi Stadium, the groundbreaking was just starting, and I was on the Wilcox High School cheer team who performed at the groundbreaking ceremony at Levi Stadium.
That's so cool.
So I literally have pictures of me, mid flip doing it says like literally Santa Clara Stadium because it wasn't named Levi's yet. They had no idea what the name was going to be, and literally went to college, came back, and so basically 10 years later, I'm down on the field being hosting, which is quite crazy. So basically, and me being down there too, we get a shout out every game. They'll call me, the 49ers Cal High host, and so that gets our show out there as well.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
That's super cool. I love
it's so
the
great.
full circle moment too of, you're saying how when you're at Wilcox and being there and groundbreaking, right? And here you are.
Yeah. I'm like standing there on game days now. I'm like, how did I get here? You ever just like sit there and go, what choices lined up?
What stars, choices?
I literally have a microphone with my name on it. I'm like, how on earth did this happen?
Not to mention that you were just seen on NFL Instagram photobombing back next to Fred Warner. I mean, all those things exactly. I'm seriously lived through you vicariously when I see your social media posts on game days.
I try. Yeah. And my dad being so not even just me being a 49ers fan. My family has had season tickets to the 49ers since they played at Kezar. So consecutively. So my grandfather bought season tickets at Kezar so he could be grandfathered into season tickets at Candlestick.
Huge.
Went through all of the Candlestick years, and up until this year, there's always been a season ticket underneath my grandfather's name, which is Jerry Deerwester. But this is the first year my parents have actually bought their own. And so it goes back so far. Yeah. I'm literally as local as it gets. You can't get any local.
Deeply rooted 49 family right there.
Yeah,
Love
exactly.
It. Love
exactly.
It. Talk about the media world is so absurd in the way that shifts and shapes, and there's so many different dynamics to it. Talk about maybe one of the biggest misconceptions. That could be very vague. You mentioned on it already a touch of our show specifically. You're saying a misconception.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. A touch on it. But maybe grand scheme, whether it's something that you learned when you're on the East Coast doing your master's program and so on and so forth, what's someone who has no idea about the media world that they'd be shocked to hear otherwise?
Yeah. Oh, that's so tough. Misconceptions. Let's see.
Really put you on the spot here.
I know. You really did.
Right
I feel like
it.
that is a question I should be able to prepare for. No. I don't know if it's a misconception, but maybe something I just wanted. Gosh, I don't know, Tyler. Misconception. Okay, let me think. Misconceptions. Yeah, I probably would say the biggest misconception, maybe about being an anchor and being a talent, is that we're only there to be on camera, to have a, face, Right. But all those reporters are doing their research. They have people to help them, but, it's not all glamorous about like, oh, I get to meet all these football players and all these athletes, it's, I think my biggest reason for loving the job so much is to be able to humanize these players. And, I've been able to, through Cal High and doing all of like our inspirational athlete packages, it's just like humanizing those people who, are in the uniform.
Yeah.
I just went through two separate things, but
no, I like it. I see where you're going with it. I'm following.
Yeah. I remember being at Syracuse. Okay. And, I'm a little student reporter. I have nothing, I have no stakes in the game whatsoever. I'm just trying to get some, credits and some experience. And I think the biggest thing that kind of led me to where I am now is I remember being in the locker room with one of the Syracuse players, and he had previously not had very good games. Like, everyone was kind of chalking him off to like a bad transfer, basically. And then after this Duke game, like the Duke-Syracuse really big rivalry, after this Duke game, he goes off. Oh my gosh, he goes off. He hits like a game-winning three-pointer, and all of the reporters are like in his face, what happened? What happened? Why the change? And you can tell he doesn't really want to talk. He doesn't want to talk, and he has 100 microphones shoved into his face. And actually, you know what? He had his back towards the reporters. So basically, the reporters had to reach their microphones around him, just like completely facing the wall. And he was so sick of it. And he goes, okay, if you have to know, my grandfather died 3 weeks ago, and it's been really, really tough. And that's probably why. And all this, like, instead of like, and I'm sitting there going, oh, that's horrible. Like, and I'm just like, and next thing you know, all the reporters like, bing, I got my story, and then and that is the biggest thing. I think that was the biggest thing that has I've taken away from, me being in this business is I'm always looking at the athletes as being human first, and never just about a story.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was just so eye-opening. It's like, oh God, it's just, ugh.
It's a bummer that you see both sides of it, because I have heard that from other reporters that are on the same page as you, that humanize them, take them, not in a bad way, sounds like negative connotation, but take them off that pedestal, right? Even though they are these superstars, stud athletes, no matter what level it is. But at the end of the day, the harsh reality is a lot of times is these reporters, who gets it first? Who's the first one there at that level? We don't necessarily see it as much in our market with high school sports, but those higher collegiate and pro levels, I feel like that's what a lot of the case of what it is, right? And so it turns off the emotions for some of these reporters, right?
Yeah. And so, depending on where you want to go, there's some people who strive to be an Aaron Andrews, some people who strive to be Mike Tirico. And I think the real reason why I always had my sight sets on like an Amy Gutierrez, which is like more like a team reporter, is I am such like a relationship girl. I love talking with people and getting to know them and getting to know kind of why it is, that the way they are, or why it is they are the way they are. And so I've always kind of been more inclined to want to work for a team, or rather than a big network. But it's it's definitely something that's been in my mind ever since Syracuse. I'm like, oh gosh, I never want to be that type of reporter.
And I'm curious as to, if you could touch on it. Assuming, you're at Cal High Sports for, however long that is, have you thought about kind of what's next? I mean, you have so much ahead of you, obviously.
Yeah.
And
I love where I'm at. I love walking into Levi Stadium for work every week. Like, who could say that?
I know.
Who
It's
could
so
just
cool.
walk through the door of Levi's and be like, I'm supposed to be here.
Exactly. I belong here.
And and so if I do see myself taking that next step, it would be, working for a team.
Right.
Because the 49ers have it down. They have it down. They not only do they have some of the best people in the business working, they form some of the best people in the business.
Yeah.
So my coworker, kind of colleague, Serena Soriano comes to mind. She is the 49ers senior video producer, I believe that's her role. And, she was raised Niners from the ground up. She came in as a, internship fellowship, and she's one of the best in the business now, and for teams to invest in their workers, in their employees, the way that the 49ers do, like they could have gone and picked any random, host to do what I do, but they truly know what it means to to cultivate relationships. And even though we work for the high school sports show within the 49ers, I have just always felt like, you know, from the second they go, how can we make this part of the show better? How can we make this part of the show better? And I think I'm a Niner fan through and through, so take this with a grain of salt, but they are, you know, the best in the business and the best on the field as of right now. So.
Yeah, they are. Favorites to win the Super Bowl as of right now. But with
Crazy.
that,
I'm going to
yeah.
Vegas. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to Vegas.
let me ride your coattails, all right? Put me in this suitcase up. But no, I will say that something I did notice I'm so grateful I was given the opportunity as recent as this current season leading up to the start of our show this season was getting to sit in that meeting with some of the team members from the 49ers coming in and talking about exactly that, saying, you know, what can we do to make this better? What's social media like? How can we help? And all those things. And to me, while I didn't play much part in that meeting, it's invaluable to me. I was grateful Robert let me sit in on that and listen and see that firsthand. Yeah. That to me, you know, outsider looking in, those are like big shot people, but they're looking to us like, how can we help? How can we make you guys better? It's so cool.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And, you know, it's like I said, the team on the field is one thing. People don't realize all of the people who make that happen. When you sit in the seats at a game, what it means to bring to life the show, right? It's you have no idea. There's these people behind the scenes who make the experience incredible, you know. So
what does game day look like? You get to be there on the field, in the tunnel and everything. So
cool.
Like, give us kind of a rundown of your routine through game day. You talked about actually doing a day in the life of Aubrey. You know,
I probably should do that.
You really should.
I'm just not a big like TikToker gal, you know. So I wouldn't even know where to start with that. But it's actually kind of embarrassing. No,
what is?
So you know, like. If it's a 1 o'clock Sunday game, my call time is usually around 9:30. So I will, you know, depending on how I'm feeling, maybe I'll do my makeup at the stadium. Maybe I'll do it at my house before. But I'll show up at 9:30 for my call time. I'll have a sound check around 20-30 minutes after that, and then I head up to the control room, basically where that room where it just overlooks the entire like stadium and everything you could possibly need. We have a meeting that, you know, we basically break down everything. So it's like, okay, so we have to get in this US bank activation, and how are we going to do that? And so basically you just run down. It's like a show. Like I said, it's a full on show. And basically in those meetings, okay, Aubrey, you have the Visa trivia at the 2-minute warning of the first half. You also have the frontline hero in the third break of the first quarter. So basically I'm just there. I'm there to just, just activate. I'm there to activate, you know? So these companies will pay, you know, tens of thousands of dollars for these activations. And then I'm basically the one in charge of making it come to life.
Got it.
And so so I'll get down there and basically I'll just stand on the field and watch a game for most of the day, while going out and maybe saying a few things on the microphone. So
jealous. That's why I say I live through you vicariously when I see it on your social media, because just to be a fly on the wall to see all that, I love that.
Yeah, and I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted whatsoever. I'm just like I soak it all in. And you know, with the Cowboys this weekend, the Cowboys game last year was incredible. Like that was one of the best experiences of my life, to being able to basically watch a team go to the NFC Championship and be able to see that at home. It's just incredible. It's incredible.
It's so cool that you've ended up this opportunity, and as big of a fan as you are and all that. And like we talked about working at Levi's, that's something I even have to remind myself daily. Is like is that okay? I'm here as an employee technically. I can't be a fan. Going on ask pictures. I was like, you know, like I just referenced running into Brock Purdy's parents. Just casual, you know, just treat him like anyone else. Not that I'm some super fan, but still, any of the other players, just growing up being a Super Niner fan. I think back like when Garoppolo got traded there, and I just remember getting so excited. You know, seeing him was like, whoa.
I went straight to the team store and I bought a Garoppolo jersey.
Oh, of course.
Straight to the team store.
Of course.
I was like, when am I ever going to wear it?
Yeah.
I'd never worn a jersey in my life. Garoppolo, though.
Have I told you about my terrible luck with jerseys? I have a terrible stint.
Whatever you do not buy any player's jersey on the team right now.
I may or may not have just gotten a McCaffrey jersey.
How dare you?
How dare you? I couldn't help it. I got my very first jersey I ever got as a kid was Vernon Davis. Very next season,
God.
he got traded to the Redskins.
He's going to be at the game on Sunday.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's
that's
gonna be at
awesome.
the game.
He was
Yeah.
my favorite player growing up. I loved Vernon Davis. I still follow him.
Yeah.
See, he does a bunch of movie work now, acting. Have you seen
really?
that?
I didn't know
He's
that.
big into acting. He hasn't
Yeah.
got any big A-list films yet, but into acting. Anyway, got Vernon Davis. He got traded to the Redskins the very next season. And then I don't get a jersey for years because I'm heartbroken as a kid, it feels like.
Yeah.
Like, I can't get a jersey. And then I get a Garoppolo jersey. Very next season, his ACL gets torn.
Oh, God.
So here I am with a
Yeah.
McCaffrey jersey that I just got.
How dare you?
I really risked
Well,
it
you
all
just
here.
got to go with somebody who's already had a great career,
I
if I
thought-
could do it over, if I could have a jersey, it'd probably be Ronnie Lott, I would say. It'd probably be a
Going
Lott
with the
jersey.
throwback jerseys. Is what you're
Yeah,
doing.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I could tell this story as well as my dad can tell this story, but my dad played football at Stanford, and he was there from 60 to 63, so he was John Elway's wide receiver at Stanford. And he plays USC one year. He plays Ronnie Lott and USC, and he's a receiver, and so Ronnie Lott is just sitting there just like taunting him, like not even saying anything, just look at Ronnie Lott's eyes. And
I was going to say, how can you stare down Ronnie Lott and like not be shaking in your boots?
Yeah, so my dad goes and I think he just goes like just a short route, and the ball was overthrown, which doesn't happen a lot with Elway, but the ball was overthrown and he, falls on his back, and Ronnie Lott straddles him on the ground and looks down at him and goes, "You are so lucky you didn't catch that ball." And my dad tries to get up. "No, you're lucky I didn't catch that ball. I would have juked you, And my dad goes to the huddle. He is so scared. He goes to the wrong huddle. He goes to the USC huddle and just was like, and then my dad's teammates had to come by and be like, "No, Tolly, over here. Like, this is our huddle."
He went to the defensive huddle.
Scared. Yeah,
Oh
my dad was so scared.
I would imagine you got Ronnie Lott staring you down.
I
telling
know,
you
and
that.
I'm pretty sure I've told Ronnie that story. I've come across him a couple times, and yeah, it was like, that's like my favorite story. My dad says so many stories, about Stanford football and all that.
I bet.
Yeah.
So you come from a super talented and athletic family between your dad, your mom, your brother, all that. So tell me a little bit about them.
Yeah.
And where that comes from.
Yeah. So my dad played football in college, football growing up. He went to Stanford, and then my mom owned a cheer gym growing up. So I thought I was a very good cheerleader. So I thought that maybe cheer would have been my path. I started in softball too, and kind of figured out I liked softball a little bit more. But yeah, so my mom was a gym owner, and now my brother is a cheer gym owner as well. He owns a gym in San Ramon, the same gym that me and him used to grow up being with. So
Right.
same gym. And so, yeah, so it's like literally, and then going back, like my grandfather coached Pop Warner football, raising all of my cousins, and my grandmother was actually the one to form Pop Warner cheer in Sunnyvale. Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah.
that's neat.
And so it goes way, way, way back.
No kidding. I
Yeah.
mean, well involved.
Just athletes. We're just all athletes.
Naturals. And then
Yeah.
I say talented because, now you've gone from being the athlete that you were to what you're doing now as a talent.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I've heard you throwing around your brother's cheerleading famous.
Oh
and
my
the
gosh,
I think I've heard you say that.
Yeah, he's definitely, so he is known just throughout the country because not only is he a cheer coach, he's also a graphic designer and a choreographer, which like in the cheer world is a weird mix of things because you need a whole bunch of different like talent. But he is creative as all can be. He's like literally the most creative person I know. And so, yeah, so it's just funny when you grow up in a family where sports are just your life and, your whole world is just revolved around your practice schedule and your competition schedule. It's hard. It's hard to get out of, and neither my brother or I did that. So we are just so in it. We are in it.
Beyond talented. I love hearing that because, like I said, I've always known touches of it, but to hear a little more in depth, that's super neat.
Yeah, it's so much.
I want to get back a little bit to the reporting and I I just blanked there. Talent work.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's known that's a very, right now, especially in this day and age, very saturated field. It seems like everyone wants to be a talent, right? What do you think makes someone unique and sets them apart to be good at what they do compared to the rest of the pack?
Yeah. I'll say this because I think that it's something that I struggle with. If you are worried about how people are going to perceive you, how each word, especially in this day and age with cancel culture, if you're worried about, being judged, you probably won't make it very far. Yeah. And like I said, it's something that I definitely struggle with. I struggle with being my true self, and a difference between being my true self and the person I want people to see. And so I think the biggest thing to make you successful on air, on TV is just to be your authentic self. Don't try to be anyone else. Don't try to be Erin Andrews. Don't try to be Amy Gutierrez. Just try to forge your own path and be yourself. And that's still something I'm struggling with, but 7 years into being, the co-host of Cal High, I look back on like my first year and I was like, who were you trying to be? I had like this higher voice and I'm like, I don't even have a high voice. You stop it, and so once I kind of stopped wanting to, be somebody I wasn't, I feel like I've thrived a little bit. So
how come it seems that there's so many people that, say that there's one way to do this. This is the way to do it, and this is how it's done. But then at the same time, straying away from that, becoming unique. What makes those two things separable where you're being unique, but at the same time not straying away from, what makes it right or wrong?
Dang, you're really.
I'm grilling you here
are
right now. I'm coming
me.
I
didn't realize this was an interrogation. My goodness.
Listen, this is beyond just for the Tflip show because this is my interest too. So I'm like, write that down. Right?
I get it. I totally get it. Let's think. Let's brainstorm, shall we?
Please, yeah, let's do it.
What are some of the things that you'll see a reporter or somebody on air do and go, I don't know if that worked. What are some of the things?
Well, so for me, I look at football. I get nitpicky when we get too over analytical, if that's the right word, where we're looking way too far into the play, trying to break down what happened and almost like trying too hard to make it, whether it's sound witty or sound quick or whatever it is. I always look
as a reporter, calling highlights, or even I think about like on game days when I'm watching, let's say Thursday night football, at the point in time is Booger McFarlane. He's funny. But some of the things he'd say is like, dude, what are you saying right now? Like, what are you doing? No hate towards him. Sometimes he was trying too hard, basically, I feel like. Yeah. That's something I think about right away. Yeah, so there is a difference between females and males, definitely. I feel like males a lot of the time feel like they have to pretend like they know the game better than their viewer. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, or, they think they have to know every in and out, every little thing about the game. And you don't. Right. You don't. And I don't ever try to pretend like I know more than what Shanahan is saying or even any, anything. Although I will question some things, but, other than that, now females and a lot of the female roles on TV, they're not, analytical, right? There are some girls who are on their way up, and I can't see MJ from then. Well, actually, is she with the NFL Network now? Oh, I don't know who. MJ Costa, I believe, is her name. She is incredible, and she will like break down a lot of plays and stuff. But a lot of female roles in media is just kind of play calling. It's just like it's talking with a coach at halftime. It's really it's different. It's different for females for sure. But yeah, I think that is big. It's like don't pretend like what coaches and GMs are thinking.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think you create a perfect opportunity though to segue into the fact of what do you think breaks that barriers, because you see more and more women getting involved in sports, which is fantastic. I think there's so many there have been, but from just the character aspect of talking to the coach and just doing the interview, right? Of why not analytical? There's plenty of women who know the game inside and out just as much as men. What do you think is going to get to that point to continue breaking that barrier and setting aside those cliches and standards that have been set?
We're seeing it. Like Jessica Mendoza being in the broadcast booth during the postseason right now. So we're seeing those shifts for sure. You know, it's really just going to come down to creating those opportunities, you know. Now those aren't really, you know, not all women want those roles. Like I can't say that I would want that role, but what I know I do best is I am empathetic. I'm curious and I can ask questions. I think that's why this has been so difficult for me. I'm like, why am I the one answering these questions? You know, I like to ask them, you know, and
I've never seen you. I'm sorry. I have to say, I've never seen you squirm like this before. It's kind of funny. You're doing great.
I'm like, well, how do I even, you're like, let me ask you the question, Tyler. Stop it. Let's make this the Tall show. The AT show? Sure.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm sure.
No, just kidding. And so I can't really speak on how we can make that shift other than creating those opportunities. I know that I thrive in the role as a reporter because, like I said, empathy is huge. And I don't think I'm wrong when I say that a lot of females carry a little bit more empathy, right? Empathy, curiosity, and empathy, curiosity. What was the last one? And I'm curious. Empathy. Wait, what the heck? Hold on. What were the three things I said? Empathy, curiosity, and I ask questions, and I ask the right questions. I think, and that's where I want to be. Those are the roles that I want, right? Like I said, going back to humanizing, I want to humanize these athletes and coaches, and I feel like I've been able to do that with Cal High so well with all the stories we put together. I can't even tell you how many times I'm behind the camera crying with, you know, if I'm standing in front of a kid who is crying, there's no way I am not crying behind the camera.
That's something I think about. Once I get the opportunity, hopefully start doing my own feature stories. I know for a guy, I'm a softie, and I know I'd be in the same boat as you.
It is so tough. And I think that may be the reason why, like, I don't really get starstruck too by players, because I'm like, I want to listen to you. I want to ask you questions, and I want to, you know, so it's interesting. So but going back to what you said, I think it's just opportunities. It's just creating opportunities. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, all that sounds fantastic, and it all makes sense. And so I want to I meant to come back to it sooner, but you brought it back up about the feature stories. Out of your time, 7 years was the number I heard, right? You've been with Cal 7 years.
Yeah, I think I'm starting year 7.
So if you can, I'm sure it's hard, but
oh my gosh,
maybe not. Sorry, I don't want to scare you off.
Okay, I'm thinking now because I know the end of the question. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I know it.
It's cracking me up. I love it. I've never seen this from you. It's great. I've known you for several years now.
What the heck, no.
It's not a bad thing. It's funny. I love it. So anyway, is your favorite feeture story? That's ultimately what I'm getting at. If you could pick one, I'm sure there's plenty, you know, and whatever they meant to, whether it's funny or, you know, heartbreaking, whatever it was, which one meant the most to you? I think that's a better way to put it.
Oh goodness. I'm going to say a few, and then I'm going to completely just like, oh my God, there was this one.
Sure. Go through it. You could go through multiple. I'd love to hear them.
Okay. So the biggest one that comes to mind is an athlete I actually didn't even really get to interview. But on Christmas Eve 3 years ago, he was in a fatal car accident with his cousins. And he had 2 twin cousins, and both of them died in this car accident. And he suffered a traumatic brain injury. Doctor said they were probably going to have to amputate his arm and all this stuff. And he had such high aspirations to play football. He was getting ready for a senior at Logan. His name is Jared Reynoso. And that, I think, was one of the stories that really stuck out, because not only I don't think he has been able to talk since. And so he was nonverbal, but you could see the personality within him. And I think one of, you know, the hardest things about that story was he was all there. You know, you could tell he wanted to talk and he wanted to do all this stuff, and like he, you know, wanted to walk, and he just at that point, you know, couldn't. And it was during COVID, so it was a time where I was able to really focus on the story. It was a 10-minute long feature story, which we don't really get to do all that much.
Yeah, right.
And getting to know his family and his recovery, and that was definitely one that stuck out for sure. Yeah, his mom and his aunt, and he's now walking, which he could hardly do before. But he, you know, even though he wasn't able to communicate with me, he found ways to do it, which was just incredible. Like, I went to a practice, and he had like a clipboard where he could, you know, kind of spell out, because, you know, in his mind, still there completely. Right. So he would just spell out on a clipboard what he was trying to tell me. And I remember like sitting there with him while we were watching a Logan practice, and he like takes my hand and he puts it on his leg and to have me feel something. And I'm like, oh, what is that? It was a piece of glass from the car. This was 9 months after his collision, after his car accident. He still had a piece of glass like sticking out of his leg.
Oh my God.
And it was just incredible. You know, it's so weird to think that he never spoke any words to me, because I feel like I know him so well, you know.
It just shows the connections that you build with these kids in these stories, and how much, like you said, humanizing them, you know, and creating more than just a story. It's just the connection you build with them, which is fascinating. Yeah. I love it. And it's so
great to work at the high school level, because these kids, they say they have aspirations to go on and play in college, but that's such a small percentage, you know, of the kids that are actually going to be able to do that or even play at the next level. So yeah, we are looking at the future stars of the NFL and the MLB, but we're also not, you know, and we are capturing maybe some of these kids' best moments.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to look back. I'm going to be at, you know, a random football game, and there's going to be this one moment in this kid's life that he's always going to talk about at this football game, you know? Yeah. And so it's incredible to be able to capture those moments, in them means so much to the kids as well.
And I think, like you're talking about the age and time they're at, you know, I think what's even more important, like you said, is they're in a highly impressionable stage of their life, very vulnerable, super impressionable. So I think the way that, because I think about just simple as me showing up to their games to shoot regular highlights, seeing how excited these kids get to see that there's a camera guy there. They don't even know what we are.
And we're in football season. We're talking a lot about football because we're in football season.
Right.
What about these girls?
Yeah.
You know, that is the product that Robert Bronstein has created is, you know, we call ourselves the #1 high school sports show in the country, right? There are great sports shows, high school sports shows everywhere. In Texas, you will find a great high school football show produced to the nines, like you can believe. But, you know, where are they at the women's volleyball games? Right. You know, we're shooting girls flag football. Where are they at the girls basketball games? Right. You know? And
those are some of the best games I would say I've covered in my time with Cal High. There's been some fantastic girls games that I've seen across multiple sports. I think even when I'm telling people, you know, oh, what do you do? You know, and we're a high school sports show. And oh, what sports you cover? And all of them.
I know. I'm like, how much time do you have?
Exactly. I mean, it's like literally all these sports, you know, and I'm always to a level, I'm shocked. They're shocked of, oh, like you do girls basketball too? You know, it's like, yeah,
absolutely.
Cover it all.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think we show up to the best 18-ish games in the area. Yeah. You know, whatever those are, we'll show up to the best 18. Doesn't matter, girls or boys.
Exactly. Try to show up, make it happen, and cover them in the best light that we can. So it's good stuff. So that's what I'm getting at here is that, you know, ultimately they're at such an impressionable stage of their life, you know, and us being there, like you said, we're trying to cover them at potentially what their peak is, you know, and that some people put that in a negative connotation, negative light, like, oh, you peaked in high school. No, it's not the point here.
Oh my gosh,
it's the fact that it was, you know, a big stage for you, a big turning point in your life, whether it was a big game or a future story of a hardship that you lived through or whatever it was, big achievement. We're there to cover that and show that for them, and it's there to stay, more or less. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. We're nothing but positivity. We were an hour-long show of just, you know, making these athletes, you know, feel the best, and that they possibly can be. So it's just, it's great.
It's fantastic. So I think this is a great opportunity to kind of look for our outro here slowly out. I do want to take the opportunity and ask you, though, if you had anything on a reference to bring up or any topics or even questions, if there's any call to action you had coming in here today.
Let's see here.
Because you hit all my questions. I'm done grilling you. I don't
I thought that was basically it, I think. Oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't really do a great job, but
oh, stop it! Yes, you did. You're great. I'm so excited people hear this.
I have been like in the middle. Like I keep wanting to ask you a question, and I'm like, no, I gotta keep.
You usually could. That's what I always tell people is that they think I know I format the show in an interview format, and it is kind of set that way, and I like it because just the same as you, I love asking questions, but at the same time, I
could have asked you questions.
You easily could have. I seriously, that's why I tell people it's an open conversation to an extent. We're there to learn about you, but I always try to tell people that, but. Sometimes it's a hot seat.
I feel like in this interview, you should definitely pop up a picture of young Tyler and young Aubrey doing that.
I can easily edit that in. I'll put that in. There's a couple. Not the naked faced baby Tyler though.
No, I hate that one. That's the best one.
Absolutely not. I hate that one.
That's the best one.
You look great in it, but I got a naked face going.
All right, it'll be the one of me sipping coffee on the sideline.
It's at Independence High School.
Oh my gosh, Indy.
Yep,
they had a great year that year.
Yes, they did.
Oh my gosh,
yes, they did. So okay, well, hey, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Fantastic. Thank you for finally having me. I had to beg you.
You did, but you know what? It's a great opportunity to eventually have you come back on, right? Maybe we
for sure.
I think.
Oh my gosh, I want to come back. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And I live here, so
exactly
down the street,
right
not
down
in Sacramento anymore.
I know, that's great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks,
you gotta head to a game.
I do have to head to a game. I know, right? Los Altos, not too far. Not too far. So, folks, with that being said, that was another episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. If you did enjoy the episode, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you could rate this episode. You rating the episode, suggest it to other people, and it'd be a big help to me. It's free. It's easy. It's simple. And if you enjoyed it, be a friend and tell a friend, as we always say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.